Recent trends among Chinese youth include a rise in retro-style consumption, which involves young people engaging in consumption activity typically associated with the elderly. This includes dining at affordable community canteens frequented by older people, joining sunset travel groups designed for seniors, and attending leisure classes at universities for the elderly. A recent visit by mainland Chinese media to a piano class at an elderly university in Zhengzhou, Henan, revealed a surprising sight: a 24-year-old sitting alongside a 75-year-old in the same classroom. This unusual age mix in a single classroom left the journalists astonished. It's reported that these elderly piano classes cost only 30 yuan, about $4.16 per session, attracting young people mainly due to their affordability.
When we first advertised our piano classes, they were aimed at the elderly, hence names like senior piano classes or piano university for the elderly. Surprisingly, we've seen a lot of young people showing interest. Now, our classes have a mix of both the elderly and the young, each making up about half of the class.
In addition to young people engaging in retro-style consumption, the topic of young people only visiting the bargain basement at shopping malls has also become extremely popular on Chinese social media platforms, resonating with many young netizens who express their inability to afford anything else, lamenting, "We can't afford the expensive stuff, everything affordable is underground." Traditionally in shopping malls, B1 and B2 basement floors and the underground floors are more geared towards the masses, offering cheap food and goods. The higher the floor, the more upscale the store, with mid to high-end fashion boutiques, luxury shops, and jewelry stores generally located on the third floor and above. So why is this trend emerging? It's mainly tied to China's economic situation, with a high unemployment rate and difficulty in finding jobs. Official reports previously stated that youth unemployment exceeded 20%, but the government has stopped releasing figures, so the rate is likely much higher.
2023 has been a year of widespread unemployment, especially among recent college graduates. It has left many students and their families anxious. It was supposed to be a year for Gen Z to reshape the workplace, but many can't even get a foot in the door. For a typical job with a monthly salary of just over 3,000 yuan, around $416, there are thousands vying for just one position. That's the current state of employment in China.
I'm a 2023 graduate, newly out of school, and I feel like I've already had my first breakdown. I became unemployed and can't find a job. My rented apartment lease is expiring, and with no job or income, I'm still hunting for a new place to live. To top it off, I've come down with a fever and had to miss a scheduled interview. A recent graduate shared her experience of quickly finding a job post-graduation, but soon facing harsh realities. Her company, which initially promised a 6:30 p.m. end to the workday, routinely forced overtime until 8 p.m. Following a company restructuring, her performance plummeted from best to worst in her group, leading to constant questioning from her team leader and extended forced overtime until after 10 p.m. Ultimately, she resigned due to mental breakdown and has been unable to find work since, adding to her life's pressures. How many are lying flat at home this year? It's been 5 months since I last worked, and scrolling through the comments, I realized there are so many others in the same boat. Some have had to go home early for the holidays due to unemployment, while others haven't worked at all this year. Some have stopped looking for jobs and dread going home for fear of worrying their families about their joblessness. This young woman reveals that young people working outside face immense pressure with meager salaries and part of their earnings going toward rent. The overwhelming economic burden has stripped them of everything, leaving little room for dreams and love. In a challenging job market and economic downturn, young people have begun to cut expenses and save money for emergencies. Young people are getting increasingly creative about saving money. They're no longer chasing big brands, but focusing more on practicality and value for money. Instead of scrimping to splurge on luxury bags, they're now bragging to friends about how they save money. The reason young people are hesitant to spend? It boils down to the fact that money is hard to come by these days. Professor Xie Tian of the University of South Carolina Aiken School of Business notes that young people satisfy their consumption habit by bargain hunting. This reflects the broader economic decline in Chinese society, with reduced consumer spending power, as well as pessimistic outlooks for the future economy. Despite this, mainland media comments suggest that even in B1, B2 areas of malls, most people are just window shopping, turning these spaces into poor browsing zones for young people seeking joy. China's worsening economic situation, escalating unemployment, and weakening domestic demand have led to a general decline in purchasing power. More Chinese citizens are becoming more pragmatic in their consumption. This shift has caused a downward trend in mall performance and value, contributing to a series of cascading economic impacts. Videos posted by mainland netizens show that even the malls in Lujiazui, Shanghai, have lost their former bustle. Lujiazui, one of Shanghai's and the nation's most prominent commercial districts and a top city-level commercial center, hosts several record-setting shopping centers in terms of single-store revenue.
Here I am at shopping district in Lujiazui, Shanghai. It's Saturday evening, around 6:30 p.m., usually the busiest time. But as you can see, the mall is almost empty, and I'm on the first floor, where it's typically the most crowded with coffee shops like Starbucks. The mall has 4 floors, and if the first floor is this empty, the upper levels are even worse. This just shows how tough it is for physical stores right now. With the economy in a slump, people are hesitant to go out and spend. I'm in a mall in Shanghai, where the busiest spot seems to be a juice store. Wandering around the ground floor, there's a clothing store, but most other shops are shut. It's eerily quiet, a stark contrast to the past when more stores were open. On the second floor, which used to house training centers, a dance center that was open last month has suddenly closed. There's a calligraphy and art center still hanging on, but with hardly any customers. It's the weekend, the time you'd expect the most foot traffic, yet the mall is desolate. Most restaurants on the third floor have closed down, and the few remaining ones had no customers even at lunchtime. The cinema has also shut its doors.
A man who filmed a video inside a shopping mall showed that the escalators ran, but there were almost no people. Mall staff said it opened in 2021, and they expected a new mall to attract more customers. However, the mall's emptiness seems to be tied to the broader economic downturn in China. China expert Wang He believes this phenomenon stems from the country's economic foundation being significantly weakened during the 3 years of zero-COVID policy. He highlights the extreme weakness in demand, with people either unwilling or unable to spend. Wang notes that consumer exhaustion in 2023 is unparalleled compared to previous years. He warns that if the economy continues to falter, the belt-tightening will intensify. A key issue, Wang points out, is not just the current lack of money, but also the pessimistic outlook for the future. This anticipation of harder times ahead is leading people to save rather than spend, contributing to the current slump in consumption. Weak domestic demand in China, coupled with a real estate crisis and diminishing consumer confidence, has resulted in prices hovering on the edge of negative growth in the second half of the year. The Chinese Bureau of Statistics' latest data shows a troubling economic picture. In October, the Consumer Price Index, CPI, in China fell by 0.2% year-on-year and 0.1% month-on-month from September. This marks the second negative growth in 2 months and the first simultaneous year-on-year and month-on-month decline since November 2020. Pork is the most consumed type of meat in China and has a significant weight in the Consumer Price Index. Pork prices, a significant component of the Chinese CPI, plummeted by 30% in October year-on-year, exacerbating the CPI decline by almost 0.55 percentage points. Other food items also saw price drops, eggs by 5%, fresh vegetables by 3.8%, and aquatic products by 0.5%. Interestingly, despite the usual seasonal demand for lamb in colder weather, lamb prices in some areas are only half of their peak, as stated by Donghong Liu, a shop owner in Wuhan, Hubei. He told mainland media this year's mutton prices are indeed the lowest in recent years. Regarding the lower mutton prices this year, netizens commented that the key issue is that people no longer have money at hand. Daily consumption has reduced, and people are hesitant to purchase meat, let alone make major expenditures like buying cars or houses. Another netizen mentioned that some people find it hard to earn money, while others who do earn are saving it for emergencies. Reuters reported that even after excluding food and fuel prices, the core inflation in October slowed to a mere 0.6% year-on-year growth, worse than the 0.8% growth in September. The report indicates that the Chinese economy continues to face deflationary pressures, posing a risk to government's target of approximately 3% overall inflation. Commenting on the new data released by Chinese authorities, Wang Zhiwei, chief economist at Pinpoint Asset Management, told CNBC that this indicates China is still in a deflationary environment with persistently weak domestic demand. Deflation, meaning increasingly lower prices for goods, can lead consumers to delay purchases, further damaging the economy. Additionally, deflation impacts government debt. While the nominal value of the debt remains unchanged, deflation effectively increases its real value, making it more difficult for authorities to repay. Simultaneously, the latest data from the National Bureau of Statistics shows that the Producer Price Index, PPI, in October fell by 2.6% year-over-year, a 0.1 percentage point larger drop than in September. This marks the 13th consecutive month of decline. From January to October, the PPI fell by 3.1% compared to the same period last year. The report suggests that, considering other economic data, meaningful economic recovery in China's fourth quarter seems unlikely. Taiwanese economist Wu Jialong said that China's internal demand will continue to decline due to unresolved unemployment issues and the real estate crisis. Wu explained that the deflationary trend in China is essentially unemployment-driven deflation. This is due to rising unemployment rates, reducing people's income and purchasing power, as well as consumer confidence. Wu illustrated that when companies lay off employees, the public becomes unemployed, and the subsequent reduction in consumption leads to decreased corporate revenues, forcing further layoffs or even bankruptcy. Thus begins the vicious cycle. Furthermore, Wu noted that due to the poor economy, consumer price expectations also decline, leading them to wait for further price reductions before making purchases. Amidst China's economic downturn, dissatisfaction among the Chinese people has risen, surpassing even the levels during the zero-COVID policy period. A report by the US-based firm Morning Consult, titled The State of US-China Relations, reveals that concerns about the sluggish Chinese economy and the troubled real estate market have led to increasing discontent among the Chinese populace, exceeding the dissatisfaction experienced during the zero-COVID era. In the second half of 2022, widespread discontent with the Chinese Communist Party's zero-COVID policy led to the blank paper movement protests across various regions in China. This movement represented a direct protest against the CCP regime and garnered extensive international attention. Morning Consult's survey also found that Chinese adults believe their society is filled with discontent and fatigue. Under Xi Jinping's prioritization of security, this unease has shifted the Chinese focus more toward economic development. The company also discovered that the domestic challenges in China and their consequences have led to a softening in attitudes toward the West. The research, conducted from April to October, indicated a 9% decrease in the proportion of Chinese adults who view the United States as an enemy or unfriendly. In contrast, the interest in resolving US-China military tensions increased by 6 percentage points. The report suggests that the softening of Chinese attitudes toward the United States may be more due to the public's anxiety over China's faltering economy rather than the shift in geopolitical dynamics. Morning Consult, which tracks geopolitical sentiments and political attitudes across the world, conducts monthly surveys of approximately 1,000 adults in both the United States and China from mid-February last year to early October this year.